This boy says he has prepared a resting place for his friend Yusuf. We studied together, he says, and played together, and the Saudis separated us. Here they were setting off, so excited, so full of life. This footage was filmed by a boy called Osama, showing his school friends on their rare day out. They stopped off at a local landmark, a graveyard for those killed in the Houthi rebel stronghold of Sadr. Osama kept filming and calling out to his friends, Ali and Muhammad. These were his last pictures, the final testament of a boy who did not survive the coalition airstrike. Those who did were rushed to hospital, bloodied and dazed, like 8-year-old Mukhtar, who was still wearing his school bag. The coalition defended the strike, saying it was a legitimate military action against Houthi rebels who recruit child soldiers. But the wounded here were just schoolboys. Thank God I'm alive, says Hafiz Ali, but my teacher and some of my friends died. Terror came raining down when their bus was parked in a market. The driver wanted to buy water and snacks for his young passengers. We are shocked by this disaster, says Dr. Salah Abdullah Ahmed. This was a bus full of children, some younger than 10, and it happened in the middle of a busy public market where shoppers were also killed. So often in Yemen the casualties go unseen. Not this time. These images were broadcast around the world. Uncomfortable viewing in Britain and America, the major arms suppliers to Saudi Arabia. Riyadh says it makes every effort to avoid civilian casualties. Tell that to this father, in agony at finding his beloved son among the corpses. I swear this is Yusuf, he cries. At a house nearby, another bereaved father, Zaid Hussein Yusuf. And here the sons he lost, Ahmed, Ali and Yusuf. This is Ali's copybook, he says proudly. He's very smart. He got excellent grades at school. He says his sons were so excited the night before the trip they couldn't sleep. But here's what was left of their school bus. These images have renewed concerns that Britain and America are putting their lucrative arms sales to Saudi Arabia ahead of safeguarding human lives. There are growing calls for the arms trade to be halted.
While Britain isn't a party to the conflict, while we're not part of the coalition, we do supply weapons to the coalition. We have been doing for a long time. And the truth is, we don't know if our weapons were used in Thursday's attack or not. We don't know if our weapons have been used on the attacks that have hit hospitals, that have hit funerals, that have hit schools, that have hit school buses full of children. And that's an absolute disgrace. And people will say, is this an example of why we should suspend arms sales? Well, actually, it's an example of why we should have suspended arms sales 2 years ago.
Britain and America don't just sell fighter planes and weapons to the Saudis. They support the coalition with technical assistance and military advisors. Saudi Arabia has promised to investigate the airstrike on the bus, which amounts to investigating itself. Experts warn that London and Washington are unlikely to lean on their ally.
The Saudi Air Force is quite closed about the way it conducts its operations, and while there are probably American and potentially British advisors as part of the command chains, who might be advisors who might have seen how certain things have gone down, those defence relationships with Saudi Arabia are extremely important to the Americans and the British government. So it's very unlikely that we'll see kind of either country break ranks, as it were. I don't think we'll see much in the way of kind of changing ties.
Or condemnation.
Yeah.
There was plenty of condemnation from those who came to bury the dead, coffin after coffin. The unbearable weight of the lightest bodies. Even by the standards of Yemen, this was a devastating loss. The UN says coalition airstrikes are to blame for most of the civilian deaths here. The Houthis too are accused of major human rights violations and of killing innocent civilians. But on the streets in their heartland, the grief and rage was focused on the Saudis and on their Western allies. To those who are responsible, these airstrikes are exposing you, said the rebel leader Mohammed al-Houthi. They reveal your brutality to the world. For Zayed, all that matters is that 3 of his sons are gone, killed side by side, and now buried that way. The UN is asking if the attack on the bus can be a turning point in this brutal conflict. But many fear Yemen's new dead will soon be forgotten, like so many others before them.